continue to protect us all. May the shield of God defend us. May the host of God guard us against the snares of evil and temptations of this world. May Christ be with us, Christ before us, Christ in us, Christ behind us, and Christ all around us. And may your salvation, O Lord, be always ours, this day and forevermore. Amen. God bless you all, and we hope and pray we'll have a wonderful and a blessed evening as we continue to read and listen to God's word. God bless you all. And again, welcome everybody on this platform. At this point, I'll turn it over now to Brother Leslie, who will grace us with his presence by doing the honors of introducing the speakers who shall be touching our hearts, our minds, and our souls and bodies this evening. The virtual platform is yours, Brother Leslie. Over to you.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brother Paul G. Messam, who led us so well. And let me tell you, when I thought of the program, one of the songs I thought of was that very same song that you had in mind, Shine, Jesus, Shine.
Right.
The spirit is moving.
Yes.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, across, let me say, the Methodist community and any other guest who might be online, I want to welcome you. Right now, the number is 100 participants. And
very good.
This is the third in the series of Deeper Life Teaching. And we are looking forward to an inspiring and informative and definitely enriching and reviving meeting this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we are living in changing times. As a matter of fact, someone has coined the phrase to say, the only thing that's constant is change. And so we are looking at corporate worship, face-to-face and hybrid. The need for hybrid worship in the post-pandemic, its importance and challenges. Things are changing and have changed around us. Now, at the beginning of the COVID, where the churches meeting were restricted, I said to myself, and I in fact, speaking with a brother in the USA, I said to him, some will grow and some will go. And that has happened. Many of us has taken the time to spend time with the Lord, while there are others who, because of the lack of physical connection, have gone far and wide. But, we're looking at this virtual platform, YouTube, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and all the others that exist or that you might employ where you are. And, Paul mentioned it earlier. It is raining. If we're meeting in a physical church building, we probably would not have made it. But through this platform, we can meet, even though we're in different communities and perhaps definitely different countries. So this evening, we have employed the services of two gentlemen who's had tremendous experience in this field and using it in their churches. And they're going to share with us. I must tell you, I do have a challenge with, when I see people go up and reading the scriptures from their cell phones or from their tablet. I mean, I don't know, like my big Bible, Brother Paul, Brother Ian.
Yes.
My nice NIV, my King James, or whichever one. So, it is kind of a challenge for me to accept that change. But as a matter of fact, first time when I used to go abroad, one of the first things I'd pack is my Bible. But my NIV weighs about between 5 or 10 pounds. So now that I have the Bible app on my phone, I don't pack my Bible anymore. But these two gentlemen are going to share with us how we can enhance our worship using both the face-to-face and the hybrid. We have with us our brother David Workman, and what a name. Because we plan to work you today, David. All right. These gentlemen will make their presentations, and we will entertain some questions and comments towards the end of the evening. So David is a member of the James Street Methodist Church in Bridgetown, Barbados. He is a congregational steward at that same church with a focus on communication. So you see why he is well suited for this discussion this evening. David, as I said, is a member of the James Street Methodist Church leadership team that was formed in March 2020 to plan and prepare various challenges and dynamics associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, and specifically related to his church. By profession, he is a pharmacist. So he's going to be writing up some virtual prescriptions this evening, how we can employ these to to experience a deeper life in the Lord Jesus Christ. He spent several years in sales and distribution of pharmaceutical products and medical equipment in Barbados and across the eastern region. Now, we also have online Brother Nicholas Maitland, who says he was born in Methodism. He worships at the Hawthorne Memorial Methodist Church all his life. A Barbadian by birth, and is very proud of his national and spiritual heritage. Nicholas says that his mother, Rosina, has always prayed for him, supported him, and encouraged him in the Christian faith. Nicholas started his service to the church around 2008 when he joined the church's technical team. It was then he decided that he would give all his talents to the Lord for his people and for his glory. He attended the NCCA Youth in Centaurio in Trinidad in 2020. And that was when he truly experienced a spiritual renewing and realized that he really needed a spiritual awakening to serve the Lord. Nicholas served in the technical team while improving his skills, assisting the church in this much needed area. He completed his bachelor's degree in psychology in 2017 and underwent training to become a fully accredited local preacher, which he officially completed by God's grace in 2019. In 2020, he became a full-time sports journalist with the National Publishing Company, pursuing his passions of sports and writing. During COVID-19 pandemic, there was a great need for his church to remain connected its members despite being separated. His bishop, Derek Richards, came up with the idea of a daily devotional series, and he put the battery in his court, and he says, so to speak. He proceeded, he ran with the idea, and for 2 years later, with some valuable help from many of our fellow members, brothers and sisters, he says, we have grown exponentially by God's grace. He credits God and his church for his development as a content creator, journalist, speaker, and human being. He says, we are just getting started. So they are ready for the task. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I'm going to ask you to open your hearts, open your spirits, and welcome David and Nicholas as they share with us. Gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Brother Leslie, thank you very much for your introduction. Thank you very much to the Saxthorpe Methodist family for having us. It is indeed an honor. I want to say thanks to your Superintendent Minister, Reverend Dr. Wainford McFarland, And I also want to say a special thank you to Sister Cynthia Taylor. She has been my liaison or our liaison over the past couple of weeks in preparing for this evening. And of course, thanks to all of you for having us for this session. I also want to say, Brother Nicholas is on location in Jamaica. I'm not sure that everybody on the session knows that, but Brother Nicholas is actually in Jamaica right now. And I'm honored to open the baton pretty much in this innings with him. So Nick, I trust you're having a great time. I hope that you get to go to Duns River Falls and Fern Gully and Devon House and some of those great places in Jamaica.
I went to Devon House earlier. I had something like Scream.
Excellent.
I'll go to Duns River on the next trip.
Oh, very well. But I want to take this opportunity in this forum to congratulate and to thank Nicholas for the sterling contribution that he has made to our virtual worship here in Barbados. As Brother Leslie said just now in his introduction, kind of the ball was passed to Nicholas for the evening devotion sessions, and he ran with it. He doesn't do it by himself, but certainly in the beginning, he did a lot of it to set it up. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank him for that. Yes, thank you. So staying connected to Christ and with each other, that's the topic for your Deeper Life session, this Deeper Life session. And this evening, we're looking at the whole idea of corporate worship and the face-to-face versus the hybrid. What I propose to do is to share a few thoughts for us to consider, some things based on my experience here in Barbados and things that I've heard, as the pandemic has unfolded. And that will pave the way for Nicholas to come after and build on that. And then we hope to have a very dynamic and robust discussion as we unpack this. There's a very broad, it's wide, and it's deep topic to cover in this short space of time. So we want to have as much discussion as we can, this evening. Let me start by saying that your path or your journey going forward in this post-pandemic period is somewhat dependent on your journey from 2020 to now. Certainly in the beginning, there was no real benchmark or no real precedent for worship within a pandemic. I don't think that certainly there's nobody on this call who was around 100 years ago when the other pandemic plagued the world. So there's really nothing that we could say, or how do we do this? How do we do that? We at James Street were fortunate that we had some of the equipment in place already prior to 2020. So a lot of the things we could do, but we hadn't really done a lot of it. We had done one or two live streams, but we hadn't done a lot of it. So that was something that we had to kind of learn on the way, as we went ahead. And certainly it is a trial and error. It is, especially since with the pandemic, it was not a case where you could shut the doors of the church and say, when this storm passes by, we'll come back. We had to keep the church going. So it was a lot of on the job learning, dealing with the dynamics, etc. The need for hybrid in the post-pandemic. So that's part of the topic for tonight. And that suggests to me that we think that there is a need for the hybrid in the post-pandemic. What if there isn't a need for the hybrid in the post-pandemic? What if we can just stop with the online and just everybody come back to the church and go back to how we were in 2019? There are people who have that thought process. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that I'm one, but I'm saying that thought process exists. And as I was preparing for this evening, I came across an article in the New York Times that was written on the 30th of January of this year by an Anglican North American minister. The title of the article was "Why Churches Should Drop Their Online Services." And this Anglican minister, she says, it's time to drop the virtual option. The online option was good given how unusual the past 2 years have been, but it is time to drop the virtual option for the same reasons that she believed that churches should have gone online back in March of 2020. And that is because this is the way to love God and our neighbors. So she's saying that now the way to love God and our neighbors is to get rid of the online option and just let everybody come back out to church. She goes on to say that we seek to worship wholly with heart, soul, mind, and strength. And embodiment is an irreducible part of that wholeness. And she makes the point that over the past 2 years, we have sought to balance the risk of disease with the good of being present in person with one another. And that the cost of being apart from one another is steep. And people need physical touch and interaction and the embodied community. So the question is, why not have both? She's saying that because offering church online implicitly makes the embodiment aspect elective. So it presents in-person gatherings as something that we can opt in or opt out of with little consequence, and assumes that embodiment is more of a consumer preference than a necessity. She's saying it is a necessity. We need to be among ourselves in order to worship wholly. She went on to look at the cost of school closures, which she says research has shown that has outweighed the risk of COVID-19 overall. And she says that in Christian theology and practice, physically gathering as a church should be seen as similarly essential and irreplaceable. She then goes on to say that no longer offering the streaming option will unfortunately mean that those who are homebound or sick will not be able to participate in a service. And goes on again to make the point that this is not a new problem for the church, because for centuries, churches have handled this inevitability by visiting these people at home in person, which is what we would call our sick and shut-in ministry or our visitation ministry, to share the word, some hymns, the sacrament of Holy Communion, and that would provide the gifts of personal and embodied presence. The reality is that COVID has prevented a lot of that, certainly in our region. I'm not sure that we did any visitation, certainly not here certainly in 2020, because that was against the law at the time. So those were her thoughts. I don't share those thoughts. I understand what she's saying and she's making some good points, but I don't think that we should stop the virtual option. Naturally, the following week, which would have been the 6th of February, in the New York Times, there were letters to the editor, concerning this article that was written, and that then brings us to why the hybrid is actually important. One person who was a minister in the Episcopal Church said that he read the article with deep concern. He said, people of faith cherish the embodied connection that grows from safe, responsible, in-person worship and other forms of fellowship. But we in the Episcopal Church are also mindful that Jesus of Nazareth placed the highest priority on the sick, the weak, and the marginalized. He went on to say that the pandemic has forced digital innovations in how we do church, perhaps uncomfortably for some, and to abandon these advances in favor of our old familiar ways is to lose sight of what we have gained. He went on to say that at a time when the dominant narrative on organized religion is its steady decline, we are seeing and hearing stories of churches growing through online services. And that has been our experience, certainly here in Barbados. We have seen significant growth through our online services. He says that far more important than the numbers, however, is who might be served in the digital space. Core to our mission as Christians is the possibility of welcoming people who, for myriad personal reasons, face barriers to accessing in-person worship. Another person wrote to the editor, I believe this person was a Jewish person. And she says, as a homebound, medically challenged grandmother in a distant city, how else would I have been able to attend my first grandchild's bar mitzvah? Of course, I miss the personal hugs and kisses and congratulatory accolades. However, my long-distance Zoom-enabled participation is now a treasured memory. Family all over the world was able to share the joy. And she says, I'm quite sure that God doesn't need us in a particular location to hear and honor our devotions. It's the act that counts, not the physical contact. The reality is that right now we want more people in the church. Every Sunday we count and we see how many people are in the church. And there's no fun ministering to an empty church. I have had the opportunity to host a couple online events where there were very few people in the physical space. And you're pretty much talking to an online audience. And it's not as easy as if you're seeing physical people in the space. I also think that one of the things that that initial article did not really focus on is the various personality types that make up our congregations. Sometimes we all wish that everybody was like us, but if everybody was like us, the world would be a pretty boring place, wouldn't it? So you have to take into consideration the various demographics, the particular circumstances. This lady said she was able to attend her grandchild's bar mitzvah, which was obviously a very big moment for her. And these kinds of things we have to take into consideration as we look at the whole talk of hybrid and coming back to church and whether we should abandon the virtual space or not. I don't think we can abandon the virtual space. The virtual space is here to stay. And it is evolving, it is growing, it has taken on its own personality, so to speak. It has brought a connectedness and an interaction that goes outside of the virtual space. Certainly I've seen in our context here, a lady from James Street, she came to me once and she said that she's one of, I want to say either 8 or 10 siblings. And they are scattered across Europe, Canada, North America, and Barbados. And she said that our online services provided them with an opportunity to worship together for the first time in, I think she said 40 years or 30 years. That because they have scattered across the world, they have never been back to James Street at the same time in either 30 or 40 years. And for them, this was such a tremendous moment that they could experience this opportunity to worship together. And that is something, I mean, when she said it to me, she said it with such passion and such zeal. Another lady said to me, she had to come home. She lived in the UK. And she had to come home in 2020 because her job kind of closed. So she came home to be with her parents. And she said, I saw her out at a social event, and she said to me, I really haven't been going to church much while I've been in the UK. But now that I'm home, because my family is, they're watching the service, I'm at home and I'm seeing it. She says, and I really am enjoying what I'm seeing. The messages are good. The service is uplifting. And she was very excited about what she had been experiencing, because she's back here. We've been able to contact people or reach out to people that we have not seen or heard for a long time. I have a friend who lives in Dubai. He used to sing in the choir at Hawthorne, which is where Brother Nick worships. He's been living in Dubai, can't remember how many years now, but certainly before the pandemic. And I've been in contact with him more since 2020 than I had been prior to him, even though he was in Dubai. So I see him on Sundays online. He participates in the worship. Sometimes he will read a lesson and record and send for us. And he says it's great to be a part of the fellowship. So again, I really can't see how we can do away with this hybrid version. And I can't remember who said it in the beginning, but you guys are having a lot of rain in Jamaica at the moment. If this event was an in-person only event, how many people would have attended? And the reality is not the 100 that are on this Zoom, and I don't know how many are on the YouTube link, but not that amount either. When we had our Deeper Life Encounters sessions prior to COVID, we would move from church to church. We had ours in Lent, and we would move from church to church during the Lenten period. And I don't think that we would have had in total the amount that we would have had for any given Lenten session that we've had online. And the beauty about the online sessions, especially on YouTube, they're there. You can go back and look at them and review them. And another time you can share them with people. As if you think a word is suitable for someone, you can share it. So those are very important characteristics that the hybrid option brings. And remember, YouTube is forever. That's good and that's bad. It's good because, as I said, you can share it and you can review it. But if something goes wrong and it's on YouTube, it's there forever. And we always joke in our music ministry. Our organist says, when these things go wrong, they're there. You can go back and look at it and hear how it sounds or how it didn't sound. So remember that as well as we plan and prepare. Some of the challenges that this new space present. The struggle is real getting people to come back to church. For us here, once the COVID numbers start to surge, people get concerned and they decide, you know what, I'm gonna wait this out. A lot of people have become very comfortable tuning in online. At James Street, we have on the first and third Sundays, we have a 6:30 service in the morning that I have been a part of for the better part of 10 plus years. What I have found now that we started back the 6:30 service, it is a struggle to get to church for 6:30 in the morning. And I used to do that first and third Sunday easily every month for the past 10 years. So you get very comfortable in the online setting. And then it becomes a kind of a struggle to get back out to church. What we've also found is that our younger demographic, I'd say maybe between 30 and 45, it took them longer to come back out to church than it did the older demographic. The older demographic, I think they were just too happy to get out, especially those persons who did not have access to the online stream. They may not have had that access or not readily available. So they were only too happy to get back out to the in-person worship. What we find too in the virtual or the hybrid space is that the control for what goes on in the worship service is not as much in the hands of the preacher. In the past, the preacher pretty much controlled, they did an order of service. These are the hymns, these are the readings, and we going. But now we have pre-recorded readings, pre-recorded prayers, pre-recorded musical items. You may have a pre-recorded message even. And all these things need to be done prior to the day. So you can't just turn up on the day and say, hey, I have a recording that I would like to play. More often than not, we like to edit it and have it in queue so that it flows and the service flows smoothly. So those are all factors that, present some challenges as we go into this, as we go further into this hybrid environment. And I always say teamwork makes the dream work. Wherever possible, create a team with roles so that you don't have one or two people who end up doing everything. A lot of times that happens because this person is good at it or this person has done it several times, and then it kind of falls on them and nobody else picks it up. And then you get the other side where, well, you know what, I would like to help Brother Nick, but I'm not as good as him, so I don't know if I want to make them mistakes, because then they're going to compare me to Brother Nick, and then it's be like, So all those are things that we have to navigate. And it is important, though, to have, if you can get a team together, get a team, roster them. And it also helps with succession planning. You don't want to have a situation where you only have one or two people, and if they're not available, then, things can't be done because Nick is in Jamaica this week, so nothing can be done. No, we passed that stage now. Nick can travel. And also encourage people who are willing and able. Very often, and I'm sure this is the same in every church, in every denomination, in every part of the world, we have some who are willing and not able, and then we have some who are able and not willing. So you really need to encourage the people who are willing and able, and to get those who are willing to be able, and get those who are able to be willing. Of course, coming back out to church, you have the hospitality side of it, in terms of making sure that the space remains safe, following whatever protocols are in place by the government at that time, given the COVID situation. Hospitality teams are very important. They keep us safe. They end up becoming very unpopular because